Hi, I'm Sam Carter, the Director of Registration and Compliance at Advisor Guidance. Back with the topic of the week. Topic of the week this week is setting caps on portfolios exposure to high risk investments. When we talk about high risk investments, we're talking about alternatives, things that don't normally end up in a client's investment portfolio, things that are not your typical stock, bond, ETF, and mutual fund. These are anything from options to futures, leveraged to inverse leveraged, ETFs, mutual funds, anything like that that is out of the ordinary. And why a firm would want to set a cap on this is to ensure that the client's portfolio doesn't suffer a downside in the event of a market pullback, or let's say in the event of an inverse ETF. Uh, if the market rises, the inverse ETF drops. You don't want to lose money in the client's portfolio. So firms will often set caps on the amount of exposure to an alternative asset. Caps will be set by the firm's chief compliance officer and chief investment officer. Anybody who's in charge, who knows the business model of the firm and understands the types of clients they're advising and those clients' suitability profiles. Caps can be anything from 1% to 2% to 5%, maybe sometimes more. But the firm should establish a practice for setting a cap on exposure to alternatives where there's high risk. And the chief compliance officer is responsible for monitoring those client portfolios to ensure that those caps are not exceeded. This is going to be a question that comes up on any regulatory examination conducted by the SEC in the states. They're going to want to know, does the firm have a cap? Does it have a ceiling? Does it have a threshold on any of its exposure to alternative investments or high risk investments? If it does, what is that cap? How does the firm monitor that cap? How does the firm ensure that the cap is not exceeded? If you have any questions about your RIAs, operations, business model, compliance and regulatory responsibilities, please reach out to us at advisorguidance.com. You can reach us by email at info@advisorguidance.com.